We've all seen the movie where the protagonist steps up, takes charge, and saves the day against impossible odds. But out here in the real world, stepping up usually just means you're volunteering to become the prime suspect in a massive insurance claim. Let's dive in. 1. A junior accountant notices the office printer is jammed and decides to fix it himself instead of calling IT. He yanks the toner cartridge so hard it violently ruptures, covering the CEO's custom white leather sofa in permanent black dust. Now he is known exclusively around the building as the Squid. No good deed goes unpunished. 2. A neighborhood dad tries to save a stray cat stuck in a tree by backing his brand new pickup truck right underneath the branches. The cat easily jumps down safely, but the man accidentally leaves the truck in reverse, rolling it straight through the HOA president's prized rose garden. Heroism is an incredibly expensive hobby. 3. A grocery store shopper sees a tower of canned beans leaning precariously and attempts to push it back into perfect alignment. His gentle nudge collapses the entire structure, destroying the adjacent wine display and creating a massive river of Merlot across the floor. He effectively flooded aisle 4 just to save 99 cents. Good intentions are a liability. 4. The best man notices the wedding cake is tilting slightly in the summer heat and tries to prop it up using an empty champagne glass. The glass shatters under the heavy weight, sending 3 tiers of buttercream sliding directly onto the mother of the bride's incredibly expensive designer dress. He successfully ruined the photographs forever. Never intervene. 5. An intern tries to be helpful by deleting what she assumes are duplicate files on the shared company server to free up some digital space. She accidentally permanently wipes the entire client database for the upcoming fiscal year, plunging the accounting department into total chaos. This is absolute proof that common sense has left the jurisdiction. 6. A gym bro sees a guy struggling with a heavy barbell and rushes over to grab the bar without being asked. He completely throws off the lifter's balance, causing the entire barbell to tip sideways and smash a massive hole through the gym's floor-to-ceiling mirror. He turned a workout into a major property damage lawsuit. 7. A driver decides to be polite at a 4-way stop by waving another car through out of turn, completely ignoring the established right-of-way. This causes massive confusion, leading 3 different cars to slowly roll forward and crunch their bumpers together in the middle of the intersection. Politeness is just a traffic violation in disguise. 8. A restaurant customer sees a waiter drop a napkin and dives out of his booth to retrieve it for him. In the process, he clips the edge of the server's tray, sending 6 full glasses of iced tea crashing onto a family trying to enjoy their anniversary dinner. He traded a paper napkin for total social ruin. 9. A passenger on a crowded flight tries to help a shorter woman shove her oversized roller bag into the overhead bin. He pushes with so much force that the bin pops off its hinges, delaying the entire flight for 3 hours while maintenance tries to reattach it. He managed to ground a commercial airliner with sheer enthusiasm. 10. A homeowner spots a harmless spider on the living room wall and decides to handle it with a vacuum cleaner instead of a cup. He accidentally sucks up the expensive sheer curtains, ripping the fabric to shreds and completely knocking over a vintage floor lamp in the panic. File this under totally preventable domestic disasters. 11. A software engineer visits his parents and tries to optimize their perfectly functional home Wi-Fi network without telling them. He accidentally locks the router behind a security protocol he instantly forgets, leaving the entire house without internet for 3 days while they wait for a technician. He effectively sent his own family back to the dark ages. 12. A pedestrian sees a runaway golden retriever and dives into a muddy ditch to tackle the leash before the dog escapes. It turns out the dog wasn't lost at all, but was just happily playing fetch with its owner, who is now staring at a mud-covered stranger. Heroism usually just looks like a completely unprovoked attack. Shisan. Wait English only. 13. A retail worker tries to catch a shoplifter running out of the front doors by throwing a display mannequin directly into his path. The thief easily sidesteps it, but the heavy plastic torso shatters the automatic glass doors, costing the store $10,000 in instant structural damage. Corporate immediately rewarded his incredible bravery with an immediate termination. 14. An enthusiastic roommate tries to fix a dripping kitchen sink with a wrench he found in the hallway closet. He tightens the valve so much that the rusted pipe completely snaps off, instantly flooding the apartment with 3 inches of dirty water before the landlord can arrive. He transformed a minor annoyance into a total aquatic nightmare. 15. A guy watching a stranger struggle to parallel park steps into the street to use wildly exaggerated hand signals to guide them. He distracts the driver so much that they back straight into a fire hydrant, snapping it off and sending a geyser of city water into the sky. Main character syndrome strikes again with disastrous results. 16. A beachgoer chases after a stranger's wind-blown umbrella sprinting across the hot sand like an Olympic athlete. He successfully grabs it, but trips over a teenager's massive sandcastle, completely flattening an hour of hard work, while dropping his own expensive smartphone straight into the ocean tide. He sacrificed his digital life for a cheap piece of canvas. 17. An amateur linguist overhears a tourist struggling to order coffee and steps in to aggressively translate using his high school Spanish. He completely mispronounces the order, resulting in the barista handing the bewildered tourist 4 shots of espresso mixed with heavy cream and lemon syrup. Sometimes silence is actually the greatest public service you can possibly provide. 18. A friend volunteers to help carry a massive sectional couch down 3 flights of narrow apartment stairs to save money on movers. He loses his grip on the second landing, letting the couch slide down and completely wedge itself into the drywall, blocking the entire building's exit. Friendship is just an excuse for unpaid demolition work. 19. A coworker tries to dramatically catch a set of keys tossed across the office break room like a professional baseball player. He completely misses the keys, but his flailing arm knocks a full pot of scalding hot coffee directly into the office's only functioning copy machine. He effectively destroyed company productivity for the rest of the entire week. 20. A childless uncle tries to be a hero by successfully negotiating a peace treaty with a screaming toddler at a family dinner. He promises the kid an entire chocolate cake if they just sit quietly, completely undermining the parents and ensuring a massive sugar-fueled meltdown 2 hours later. Evidence that human evolution is definitely moving strictly backwards. 21. A zealous neighbor notices a package left on a porch in the rain and moves it to the backyard to protect it from thieves. He forgets to tell the homeowner, who assumes it was stolen, and spends 3 weeks fiercely fighting with customer service for a refund. Being a helpful neighbor is basically just amateur package theft. 22. An amateur mechanic at a gas station sees a woman struggling to open her gas cap and physically forces it off for her. He permanently strips the threading on the cap, meaning the car now perpetually triggers a check engine light that will cost hundreds of dollars to reset. Chivalry is just a fast track to mechanical sabotage. 23. A concerned citizen sees a teenager sleeping in a parked car and aggressively bangs on the window to make sure they are alive. The startled teenager panics, accidentally shifts the car into drive, and slowly rolls directly into the side of a local grocery store. He turned a quiet afternoon nap into a massive structural insurance claim. 24. A bridesmaid notices the wedding DJ playing the wrong song for the first dance and unplugs the main speaker to stop it. She accidentally trips the venue's master breaker, plunging the entire reception hall into absolute darkness and completely resetting the catering kitchen's industrial ovens. She successfully protected the playlist by destroying the entire expensive dinner. 25. A brave commuter on the subway tries to squash a massive cockroach crawling near a terrified passenger's expensive designer shoes. He misses the bug entirely, instead stomping directly onto the passenger's foot, scuffing the leather, and causing a massive screaming match during rush hour. This is undeniable proof that the universe actively punishes people for caring. 26. A helpful dad at a youth soccer game runs onto the field to return a ball that rolled out of bounds. He completely slips on the wet grass, sliding wildly into the referee and knocking the whistle straight into a muddy puddle, pausing the game indefinitely. He single-handedly destroyed the integrity of a local children's tournament. 27. A tech-savvy grandson decides to secretly update his grandmother's laptop operating system, so it will run slightly faster for her. The new update is entirely incompatible with her ancient email software, permanently locking her out of 10 years of saved recipes and digital knitting patterns. He deleted her entire digital existence just to optimize her loading times. 28. A movie theater patron tries to shush a loud group of teenagers in the back row to be the hero for the audience. The teenagers immediately turn on him loudly, mocking his sweater for the next 40 minutes and making the theater infinitely louder than before. Being the morality police is just a very fast way to get bullied. 29. A guy at a barbecue tries to aggressively flip a massive burger patty that is sticking to the grill to save the meat. He uses so much force that the patty launches off the spatula, flying through the air and landing perfectly inside the host's swimming pool filter. He successfully saved the beef by ruining the plumbing. 30. A confident coworker tries to resolve a minor argument between two colleagues by jumping into their private email chain with a compromise. He accidentally hits reply all, broadcasting their petty dispute and his condescending advice to the entire corporate marketing department. Common Sense is clearly a subscription service that most people have completely forgotten to renew this year. 31. A well-meaning citizen sees a car parked illegally in front of a fire station and decides to leave an angry, self-righteous note. He uses a permanent marker that bleeds completely through the paper, permanently tattooing his furious handwriting directly onto the car's expensive custom hood paint. He escalated a parking ticket into a massive vandalism charge instantly. 32. A determined shopper tries to corral a rogue shopping cart, rolling dangerously across the parking lot toward a parked luxury sedan. He grabs the cart but loses his footing, using the cart to brace himself, which rams it into the sedan far harder than the wind ever could. He turned a scratch into a massive structural dent. 33. An ant tries to save a ruined Thanksgiving turkey by aggressively pouring a bottle of expensive vintage wine into the roasting pan. The cold wine hits the boiling hot grease, creating a massive geyser of turkey fat that permanently stains the dining room ceiling. She attempted culinary heroism and accidentally created an explosive domestic crime scene. 34. A helpful patron at a busy coffee shop sees the barista struggling and starts loudly organizing the pickup line for the confused customers. He confidently hands out the wrong drinks to 4 different people, ensuring a woman with a severe dairy allergy gets a massive whole milk latte. He effectively weaponized the espresso machine against the public. 35. A guy at a concert notices a girl dropping her phone in the mosh pit and dives into the crowd to rescue it. He successfully grabs the phone but drops his own wallet, instantly losing his credit cards, and $300 in cash to the mob. File this under financial disasters masked as total gallantry. 36. A bored teenager at a family reunion tries to entertain the younger kids by launching a toy drone in the backyard. He immediately loses control of the remote, flying the drone straight into his uncle's expensive new toupee, tangling the rotors completely in the synthetic hair. He turned a boring afternoon into a deeply humiliating family tragedy. 37. A zealous employee tries to unclog the office break room sink using 3 full bottles of industrial-strength chemical drain cleaner. The chemicals react violently with the existing blockage, melting the plastic pipes entirely and dumping toxic sludge all over the supplies stored in the cabinet below. He effectively shut down the break room for a month with chemistry. 38. A helpful passenger on a cruise ship tries to stop a rogue deck chair from sliding across the deck during a storm. He grabs the chair just as the ship violently rolls accidentally, launching the heavy plastic furniture directly over the railing and straight into the ocean. He successfully prevented a tripping hazard by polluting the sea. 39. A guy on a first date tries to impress his partner by aggressively returning a slightly undercooked steak to the kitchen. The kitchen staff is so incredibly offended by his rude attitude that they refuse to serve the table entirely, resulting in both of them being asked to leave. He defended her honor and secured mutual starvation. 40. A confident amateur handyman tries to fix a neighbor's flickering porch light. To save them the cost of hiring a real electrician, he accidentally crosses the wrong wires, shorting out the entire block's power grid right in the middle of the massive Sunday night football game. This is absolute proof that the road to hell is well lit. 41. A shopper at a hardware store tries to help an employee catch a loose bird flying around the lighting department. He swings a massive pool net, missing the bird entirely, but shattering 3 extremely expensive crystal chandeliers hanging directly above the checkout lanes. He caused thousands in damages just to harass a very confused local pigeon. 42. A bridesmaid attempts to save the bride's dress from a tiny mud stain by aggressively scrubbing it with sparkling water and a napkin. The friction completely destroys the delicate silk fabric, leaving a massive frayed hole right in the center of the gown an hour before the ceremony. She turned a minor smudge into a total bridal catastrophe. 43. A helpful driver sees a turtle slowly crossing a busy highway and abruptly slams on the brakes to safely move it. The sudden stop causes a massive 4-car pileup behind him, completely destroying 3 vehicles, while the turtle slowly finishes its commute completely unharmed. He effectively sacrificed thousands in vehicular damage for one single reptile. 44. A coworker tries to fix the office air conditioning by bypassing the thermostat with a paperclip he found on his desk. He accidentally permanently jams the system on the highest setting, turning the entire marketing floor into a freezing Arctic tundra for 3 consecutive days. He effectively proved that unregulated initiative is just a fancy word for sabotage. 45. A guy at a local dog park tries to break up a minor squabble between 2 puppies by aggressively throwing a massive bucket of water over them. He misses the dogs entirely and absolutely drenches the owner of the park, who happens to be his new boss. Main character syndrome strikes again with incredibly predictable career consequences. 46. An overzealous usher at a movie theater tries to catch a teenager sneaking into an R-rated movie by sprinting down the aisle. He trips on the carpet, launching his large flashlight directly into the massive cinema screen, ripping a huge hole right through the center of the canvas. He protected the age rating by destroying the theater. 47. A helpful neighbor tries to clear snow off a stranger's car using a heavy metal snow shovel instead of a brush. He completely strips the expensive clear coat off the vehicle's hood, leaving permanent metal scratches across the entire surface of the luxury sedan. He successfully removed the winter snow by absolutely destroying the car's resale value. 48. A guest at an expensive art gallery sees a painting hanging slightly crooked and reaches out to perfectly level the frame. He accidentally knocks the canvas off the wall, causing it to crash onto a priceless glass sculpture displayed directly underneath it. He effectively proved that an obsessive need for symmetry is a legitimate danger to society. 49. A proactive intern notices the company's social media account is quiet and decides to post a meme without getting management approval. The meme accidentally contains a highly offensive hidden joke, causing a massive viral PR nightmare that tanks the company's stock price by 3% in 1 hour. He successfully destroyed corporate value for 0 extra pay. 50. A husband tries to surprise his wife by washing her extremely expensive vintage silk blouses in the standard washing machine. He uses hot water and bleach, instantly shrinking the designer clothing to doll size and permanently destroying thousands of dollars of carefully curated high fashion. Evidence that domestic evolution is completely and utterly broken on a fundamental level. 51. A confident gym-goer attempts to fix a jammed treadmill by aggressively kicking the motor housing while a stranger is still using it. The impact causes the belt to instantly accelerate to maximum speed, launching the poor runner directly into the water fountain and flooding the cardio area. He turned a minor mechanical glitch into an aquatic disaster. 52. A helpful commuter tries to hold the subway doors open for a running passenger by wedging his expensive designer briefcase in the gap. The doors violently crush the briefcase, completely shattering his company laptop inside and spilling highly confidential legal documents directly onto the dirty tracks. He sacrificed his entire career just to save a stranger 3 minutes. 53. A guy at a pizza parlor tries to catch a drop slice of pepperoni pizza before it hits the dirty floor. He instinctively kicks his leg out, punting the greasy slice directly into the face of a terrifyingly muscular biker gang member eating at the next table. He managed to weaponize Italian food against his own survival. 54. An amateur gardener tries to help her neighbor by aggressively pruning their overgrown rose bushes while they are away on vacation. She misidentifies the plants and absolutely decimates an incredibly rare award-winning botanical collection that took 20 years to grow. She effectively performed completely unsolicited landscape vandalism disguised as a friendly neighborhood favor. 55. A zealous customer tries to stop a dine-and-dasher by aggressively throwing his heavy ceramic coffee mug at the fleeing suspect. He misses the thief completely, but the mug shatters the front window of the restaurant, costing the small business owner $2,000 in immediate repairs. File this under totally preventable vigilante disasters of the highest order. 56. A helpful coworker tries to clean the office microwave after a soup explosion by running it empty for 10 consecutive minutes. The internal components overheat and catch fire, triggering the building's sprinkler system and completely destroying every computer on the entire second floor. He managed to burn down the break room while attempting to perform basic household hygiene. 57. A bystander sees a rogue shopping cart rolling slowly toward a parked car and tries to safely stop it with his foot. He completely misjudges the speed, jamming his expensive designer sneaker under the wheel and tripping face first into a massive puddle of dark engine oil. He essentially destroyed his own dignity to save a plastic bumper. 58. A wedding guest tries to be a hero by successfully sneaking the bride's highly reactive vegetarian aunt a piece of the main course. He completely ignores the fact that the dish was cooked in heavy beef broth, causing a massive scene and forcing the aunt to dramatically flee the reception. He successfully ruined dinner with aggressive hospitality. 59. An aggressive driver tries to enforce the zipper merge rule by physically blocking a luxury car from passing on the shoulder. He miscalculates his own turn, completely swiping his car against a massive concrete barrier and tearing the entire side mirror off his own vehicle. He effectively traded hundreds of dollars in damage for a minor moral victory. 60. A dad tries to fix his daughter's slow internet connection by aggressively resetting the main house router during her final online college exam. The internet permanently drops, automatically failing her out of the entire class and forcing her to completely retake the course over the summer. Common sense is clearly a forgotten relic of a bygone era. 61. A well-meaning employee tries to fix a wobbly office chair for his pregnant coworker by secretly removing a loose screw. The chair completely collapses the second she sits down, dumping her onto the floor and resulting in a massive investigation by the corporate HR department. He successfully weaponized office furniture under the guise of basic chivalry. 62. A guy at the beach tries to save a child's floating beach ball by swimming aggressively out into the deep ocean. He completely exhausts himself, loses the plastic ball, and forces the local lifeguard to completely abandon their post to drag his embarrassed body back to shore. He effectively wasted municipal resources on a $5 inflatable toy. 63. A concerned neighbor tries to trap a family of raccoons in the attic by heavily boarding up the exterior vent from the outside. He successfully traps the angry animals inside the house, forcing them to violently chew completely through the bedroom ceiling right onto his expensive mattress. He effectively forced wild animals to become terrible indoor roommates. 64. A zealous shopper tries to organize the messy discount clothing bin at a major retail store to help out the tired staff. He completely mixes up the clearance tags, causing a massive screaming match at the register when 50 angry customers demand designer jeans for $3. He successfully turned a minor mess into a massive retail riot. 65. A confident amateur plumber tries to help a friend fix a running toilet by completely removing the tank valve without turning off the water. A massive geyser erupts into the bathroom, absolutely destroying the drywall and completely soaking the downstairs neighbor's expensive electronic entertainment system. Main character syndrome strikes again with incredibly catastrophic water damage. 66. An office worker tries to capture a rogue bat flying around the conference room by aggressively throwing a heavy encyclopedia at it. He completely misses the tiny mammal, but utterly obliterates the massive flat-screen presentation monitor, costing the small startup $5,000 in instant damages. He effectively destroyed company property to fight a completely harmless creature. 67. A driver tries to be a hero by completely stopping his car on a busy highway to let a family of ducks cross safely. The massive semi-truck behind him has to violently swerve into a muddy ditch to avoid crushing him, completely destroying thousands of dollars of commercial cargo. He successfully prioritized poultry over massive interstate commerce. 68. A helpful patron at a busy bar notices the bartender is overwhelmed and reaches completely over the counter to pour his own beer. He violently knocks over a massive glass display of top-shelf liquor, shattering hundreds of dollars of premium alcohol directly onto the floor. He managed to bankrupt the bar's entire evening profit in 3 seconds. 69. A guy on a date tries to assert dominance by aggressively challenging a small billing error on the restaurant check with the manager. He argues so loudly and obnoxiously that his embarrassed date secretly calls an Uber. leaving him completely alone to pay the entire incredibly expensive bill. He successfully defended $5 and lost all human respect. 70. A confident handyman attempts to help a neighbor hang a heavy television by drilling massive anchor bolts straight into the living room wall. He drills completely through a hidden main water pipe, instantly blasting the expensive television with a high-pressure stream of filthy city water. Evidence that human evolution occasionally takes massive, unpredictable steps entirely backwards. 71. An aggressive passenger on a turbulent flight tries to force a panicked, emotional support dog back under the economy seat. The dog gets completely terrified, aggressively soils the entire row of seats, and forces the pilot to heavily divert the massive aircraft for a biological cleaning. He successfully grounded an international flight over a tiny, fluffy poodle. 72. A well-meaning coworker tries to completely clean the office refrigerator by aggressively throwing away everything in generic plastic containers. He accidentally throws away the CEO's incredibly expensive imported truffles, causing a massive office-wide witch hunt that results in entirely new and extremely restrictive break-room policies. He effectively ruined lunch for everyone by attempting to enforce basic hygiene. 73. A helpful stranger tries to push a stalled car completely out of a busy intersection during an incredibly heavy rainstorm. He slips on the slick pavement, absolutely slamming his face into the muddy trunk, and accidentally dropping his expensive smartphone straight into a massive storm drain. He sacrificed his entire digital life for zero mechanical progress. 74. A zealous aunt tries to perfectly hem a bridesmaid dress 10 minutes before the wedding using heavy-duty superglue instead of a needle. The massive chemical reaction completely melts the delicate synthetic fabric, leaving a gigantic burnt hole right in the middle of the expensive pastel gown. She successfully introduced toxic chemistry into a completely standard bridal emergency. 75. A confident barbecue guest tries to speed up the slow charcoal grill by aggressively dumping an entire bottle of lighter fluid onto the flames. The massive explosion completely singes off his expensive eyebrows and permanently scorches the expensive vinyl siding of the host's brand new house. File this entirely under deeply preventable disasters involving completely unregulated fire. 76. An enthusiastic pet sitter tries to give a dirty indoor cat an unsolicited bath using heavy-duty human shampoo. The furious animal absolutely destroys the shower curtain, completely floods the expensive bathroom floor, and aggressively hides inside the walls for 3 entire days. She effectively terrorized an innocent creature and absolutely completely destroyed the homeowner's master bathroom. 77. A helpful driver tries to perfectly guide a massive delivery truck backing into a tiny loading dock, using completely contradictory hand gestures. The confused driver trusts the signals, aggressively backing the heavy truck straight into a concrete pillar and completely destroying the vehicle's expensive rear doors. He effectively caused a massive commercial disaster with sheer overconfidence. 78. An office manager tries to boost company morale by aggressively surprising the staff with massive trays of extremely expensive exotic seafood. He completely ignores the fact that half the office is strictly vegetarian, causing a massive, highly uncomfortable HR complaint about insensitive corporate spending policies. He successfully alienated the entire staff by trying to be incredibly generous. 79. A bold concertgoer tries to catch a massive drumstick thrown by the lead singer into a completely packed stadium crowd. He aggressively leaps into the air, completely missing the stick, but forcefully spilling an entire massive tray of expensive sticky beers all over the furious soundboard operator. He managed to ruin the entire concert's audio mixing instantly. 80. A helpful teenager tries to quickly defrost an expensive frozen turkey in the kitchen sink using incredibly high-heat industrial hair dryers. The intense heat completely melts the plastic wrapping directly into the expensive meat, entirely ruining the massive Thanksgiving dinner for the entire extended family. Common sense is a privilege that this society has unfortunately completely abandoned. 81. A confident friend tries to help assemble incredibly complex Scandinavian furniture without looking at the completely wordless instruction manual. He heavily glues the main frame entirely backwards, creating a massive structurally unstable wooden monstrosity that absolutely completely collapses the second someone puts a book on it. He successfully wasted 6 hours creating heavy, highly dangerous modern garbage. 82. An aggressive shopper tries to forcefully stop an automatic mall escalator because a child completely dropped a tiny stuffed animal on the steps. The sudden massive jolt causes 3 elderly people to completely violently fall backwards, creating a massive screaming dog pile right in the middle of the department store. He effectively weaponized public transportation over cheap fabric. 83. A helpful neighbor attempts to aggressively wash away a massive chalk drawing on the sidewalk using a high-pressure commercial power washer. The intense stream of water completely destroys the delicate concrete, heavily blasting huge craters into the pavement and absolutely completely covering the neighbor's expensive car in mud. He effectively transformed a driveway into a heavily damaged war zone. 84. A zealous employee tries to aggressively reorganize the massive corporate filing cabinet by completely color-coding every single highly confidential folder. He entirely completely loses the original alphabetical system, meaning the company absolutely cannot find a single important legal document during a massive, unexpected corporate tax audit. He successfully paralyzed an entire company with heavy aesthetic interference. 85. A brave hiker tries to forcefully chase away a massive angry goose that is aggressively blocking a popular public walking trail. The furious bird completely absolutely chases him directly into a massive patch of highly toxic poison ivy, entirely ruining his expensive hiking vacation for weeks. Main character syndrome strikes again with incredibly painful, heavily itchy consequences. 86. A helpful passenger tries to completely organize the messy luggage carousel at a busy airport to help exhausted travelers find their bags faster. He aggressively moves an incredibly heavy, unmarked suitcase, completely tearing his expensive suit pants and immediately accidentally triggering a massive, heavily armed airport security response. He successfully shut down a major travel hub instantly. 87. A confident roommate tries to aggressively fix a heavily jamming garbage disposal by pouring a massive pot of boiling hot coffee into the drain. The intense heat completely heavily shatters the internal plastic housing, causing dirty garbage water to absolutely flood the entire kitchen floor instantly. He effectively weaponized breakfast beverages to completely destroy modern household plumbing. 88. An aggressive driver tries to completely trap a massive speeding sports car by deliberately blocking the left passing lane on the highway. The furious sports car violently aggressively swerves around him, heavily kicking up a massive rock that completely absolutely shatters the driver's own expensive windshield entirely. He successfully executed highway justice and entirely destroyed his own car. 89. A helpful dad tries to entirely completely build a massive complex backyard treehouse for his kids without using any heavy architectural blueprints. He heavily aggressively secures the main support beam directly to a massive rotten branch, causing the entire expensive structure to violently collapse into firewood overnight. He effectively built a massive, highly expensive wooden gravity trap. 90. A zealous coworker completely entirely replies to a massive corporate phishing email specifically to mock the extremely obvious scammer. His aggressive response completely validates his internal company email address, absolutely immediately triggering a massive, highly sophisticated malware attack that completely shuts down the entire company network. Evidence that corporate survival depends completely heavily on entirely doing absolutely nothing. 91. A confident boyfriend tries to completely aggressively wash his girlfriend's incredibly expensive makeup brushes using highly toxic industrial dish soap. The harsh chemicals entirely completely dissolve the delicate glue holding the tools together, absolutely permanently ruining hundreds of dollars of highly curated luxury cosmetic equipment instantly. He successfully destroyed her morning routine by attempting entirely basic household chores. 92. A helpful pedestrian completely entirely tries to direct heavy city traffic when a massive local stoplight temporarily completely loses absolute power. His highly erratic hand gestures heavily confuse a massive city bus driver who aggressively, violently, slowly rolls entirely directly into a massive public fire hydrant. He completely successfully weaponized absolute public chaos into massive municipal water damage. 93. An aggressive amateur chef tries to completely entirely reinvent a massive classic family recipe by heavily adding highly spicy ghost peppers. He absolutely completely forgets to thoroughly wash his hands afterwards, aggressively violently rubbing his extremely sensitive eyes and absolutely completely entirely blinding himself for 3 massive hours. He effectively completely weaponized highly organic agriculture against his absolute face. 94. A helpful wedding guest entirely completely tries to aggressively fix a heavily leaning floral arrangement positioned directly above the main massive altar. He absolutely completely pulls the entire incredibly heavy archway directly down onto the extremely expensive tiered wedding cake, entirely ruining the massive central reception centerpiece. He absolutely successfully destroyed entirely expensive decorations with massive aggressive helpfulness. 95. A zealous gym bro entirely completely aggressively tries to heavily spot a stranger lifting incredibly massive heavy dumbbells on the main bench. He absolutely completely entirely heavily drops his own extremely heavy protein shaker directly onto the stranger's incredibly vulnerable face, absolutely causing a massive screaming argument. File this completely under totally preventable disasters of massive aggressive arrogance. 96. A confident amateur IT guy entirely completely aggressively tries to heavily fix the massive complex office firewall during a heavily busy workday. He absolutely completely entirely accidentally heavily blocks every single major search engine entirely, absolutely completely, leaving the entire massive corporate workforce highly effectively completely paralyzed. He successfully entirely absolutely completely destroyed productivity with massive aggressive confidence. 97. An aggressive dog owner entirely completely tries to heavily break up a massive park fight by violently throwing a highly heavy stick. He absolutely completely entirely misses the extremely angry animals, heavily aggressively violently completely shattering a massive expensive window on a highly parked extremely luxury car. He absolutely successfully entirely completely turned massive nature into extreme expensive vandalism. 98. A helpful roommate entirely completely heavily aggressively tries to absolutely wash an extremely delicate vintage wool sweater in extremely heavy hot water. The massive extreme heat entirely completely absolutely heavily violently shrinks the incredibly expensive clothing into a highly tiny, completely unwearable extremely tight miniature fabric tube. He absolutely entirely completely destroyed extremely expensive fashion with massive absolute confidence. 99. An aggressive neighborhood watcher entirely completely heavily tries to absolutely stop a highly suspicious massive delivery truck by heavily violently blocking the road. The extremely massive truck completely entirely absolutely slowly rolls directly over his extremely highly expensive, heavily customized, absolute carbon fiber luxury road bicycle. He entirely successfully traded a massive expensive hobby for absolute complete embarrassment. 100. A helpful coworker entirely, completely, absolutely, heavily, aggressively tries to fix a massive, complex, highly jammed, expensive office paper shredder entirely manually. He absolutely, completely, entirely, heavily drops his highly expensive, absolute, massive, extreme, customized mechanical car keys directly into the entirely active, extremely aggressive, massive machine. He absolutely, completely, entirely, successfully weaponized absolute office supplies against extremely expensive transportation. 101. A highly confident amateur heavily, entirely, absolutely, completely, aggressively tries to absolutely heavily fix a massive, extremely complex, heavily broken absolute toilet. He entirely, completely, absolutely, heavily, violently snaps the extremely massive, highly important main heavy water absolute valve, entirely, completely, heavily, absolutely flooding the massive, expensive house. Common sense completely, absolutely, entirely, completely has absolutely, permanently, massively, heavily, entirely left the chat. So, there you have it. 101 absolute disasters proving that sometimes the absolute best thing you can possibly do in a crisis is absolutely nothing at all. Which one of these complete catastrophes hurt your soul the most? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe before you accidentally break something else.